Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. My name is Ritah. I'm a customer success engineer at Mezmo. And mainly what I do, I mainly work with customers, be it prospect customers or current customers, to help them get value out of Mezmo, the product. And I've been in the observability space, so that's working with logs, metrics, and traces, different tools around the space for more like 5 years now. So yeah, and I'm excited. So today we're going to do a hands-on workshop. If you have your laptop, you can get it out, or if you prefer, we just go through it while everyone watches. That also works for me. But today we're going to see how we can utilize the Mezmo pipeline to optimize data. So we'll be focusing, depending on the time. We have a workshop built out for logs, metrics, and traces, but we can just do logs and traces based off the time that we have going on. So yeah, so quick introduction, by show of hands, who has worked with OpenTelemetry as source? Okay, so yeah, so OpenTelemetry has been open source and it's been around for some time. It's a way how companies were able to get data from their applications, be it infrastructure, and then build out pipelines to transform the data. So this could be enriching the data, filtering out the data, then send it to any observability tool. So this was New Relic, Datadog, Mezmo as well, Splunk, so many tools that companies were utilizing so that they can transform their data. So Mezmo is of the same concept, but then it's OpenTelemetry on steroids. So it's they give you the UI where you can manipulate the data, but then also instead of being in the configuration files, now you can tap the data and see it while it's in motion. So it gives you that visibility into the data so that you can see whatever transformations you're doing, they are happening and they are changing the data however you want it to be changed. So that's a quick high level of Mezmo. And before we jump into the workshop, let's just a quick, it's the wrong screen. Just a quick high level into Mezmo. So this is the Mezmo UI, and immediately you jump into it, you can see the dashboard. So this shows you the different features you have available. So before Mezmo, we had log analysis where we are mainly focusing on you send us your logs, we retain them, you can search, live tell, and everything. But then Mezmo evolved into a place where you can send all observability data. So logs, metrics, and traces, transform that data, and then send it to other observability tools, really opening up the space for you so that you're not locked into one vendor, but then you can utilize whatever vendor you prefer that works for you in your space. So that was the birth of pipelines, to help you transform your data, give you more control over your data before you send it out to any observability tool out there. And so what we're going to be focusing on today is the pipelines. And if we just jump into one pipeline, and what we are going to look at, just a quick high level, as you can see, pipelines has 3 components. So that's the sources. Sources are any tools or any applications that are producing your telemetry data. So if you're a developer, you could be working on an application and then you can integrate Mezmo directly into your application. Or it could be grabbing data from your Kubernetes cluster, from OpenTelemetry, whatever situation that you have going on. Then processors really help you transform the data, enrich the data, grab insights. So for example, if you have logs and you want to get metrics out of your logs, using the events to metrics processor within Mezmo helps with that. You can aggregate, really getting more value out of your data before it goes downstream. And then the destinations, those are your observability tools. It could be Mezmo log analysis, it could be Splunk, Datadog, New Relic, really opening the world out there for you so that you can dig into that. And the added bonus to it, and depending on time we can jump into it, Mezmo has the AI feature as well that really helps you to be able to analyze your logs, but then you can also, using the Mezmo MCP, you can integrate that in different systems within your stack. That way, whatever is, so for example, if an issue is happening within your application, Mezmo tells you, and then it also offers recommendations that are very specific to your tech stack because of the different integrations that you would have added. So today, the point of this workshop, and anyone can follow along, or if you don't have a laptop today, when you go home, you can just go onto our website, the documentation, and then you can find this workshop available, and then you can jump into it. So it's mainly grabbing data from the usual open telemetry data, where it's an e-commerce store, and so you can, it's really mimicking whatever store that you have. So it's selling products, so you can go shopping, pick up things. So depending on the activity that you're doing, one, it's sending the logs into Mezmo. Then it's also sending metrics, and it's sending traces, depending on whatever activity that you're doing on this website. So this is what we're going to be using throughout this workshop. And yeah, so please feel free to stop me anytime if you have any questions. So this is the beginning, and it's very easy. We give a free trial, 30-day trial, if you want to test out, even with your actual data, or we also give demo data if you want to test out the pipeline. And so this was, so today, and as you saw outside today, the whole workshop is all about responsive pipelines. And if I give a high level, what are responsive pipelines? Within the observability space, data needs change. So for example, a team can, for 1 minute, they don't really care about, let's say, info level logs, but then the next minute they're like, well, if something happens, we really need that data. So you find cases where teams are holding on to data just in case they ever need it. And so Mezmo came to solve that problem by using responsive pipelines. So these are pipelines that dynamically change based off the needs of the business. So like on a regular basis, we don't need info level logs, but then if we receive an error or if we're receiving less access logs like we would like to, let Mezmo flip back on, instead of filtering out all the info level logs, let Mezmo now send all the data downstream into our observability tool. Could be Relic, Datadog, whatever you're working with. And then, so that when the engineers are jumping in, or the SREs or devs, whoever is responsible for troubleshooting within the company, they have this data available for them. And this is also a process that can be automated. So if you have a workflow when an incident happens, you can integrate it within PagerDuty as well, so that, or whatever that you use for your incident, so that if an issue happens at midnight or you're sleeping, you don't have to wake up and then change the response. The incidents within pipeline, you can just change those. PagerDuty does it automatically, so that the next morning you have all the data available for you. So now, let's just jump into it. So the setup, this is the configuration, and it's really easy. You just clone that, and then, and before I bore you, who is doing it? So we can just jump into it. Okay, gotcha. So let's profiling log data. So this is a feature that Mezmo offers, and we've talked to many of our customers who are like, well, I know I need to reduce my bill, my observability bill, but then I don't know what to cut. And then they come to us, we tell them, well, filter out things, but then they're like, what do I filter out? So that's how Mezmo came up with data profiling. So what this really helps is it ensures that it gives you patterns when you're sending data into Mezmo. And let's jump into. So right now we have this pipeline, and these are my logs that I'm sending over into Mezmo. And as you can see, these logs are coming into the Mezmo pipeline UI. And as you can see, when I click on the tab, I'm able to view the data as it's flowing in. And so that's why I was like, it's like open telemetry, but on steroids, because it gives you more visibility into your data while it's in motion before it goes downstream into your observability tool. So you can attach alerts here or do whatever you want And so, but then right now we are focusing on profiling the data. So profiler is a processor as well. So when you're sending data, you can just edit pipeline, and then you add a node, which is the data profiler that we're using. And then it will show up under data profiles. And so if you click on the view profile, so what this really does, it's giving you the top patterns into your data. And right now here I can see off the bat, the message that is taking up most of the volume is the product found. And for someone who's spending a lot of money for my Datadog bill, this is something where I'm like, okay, this would rather be a metric where you just send us and be like, okay, within this hour, these products were found, or depending, you don't really need all the logs. So I can expand and see the different logs that are contributing to whatever the template is. And it also shows you the applications where this is coming from. And you can also filter down by application, depending on what you would want. So really this helps to bridge the gap, especially between SREs and devs. You would find where in most companies, devs are responsible for producing this telemetry data versus the SREs who are sometimes responsible for making sure that these apps are up and running. But then when they go into, if a problem happens, they are not really understanding the logs. So when I jump into Mezmo, if an incident happened and my data is profiled, within Mezmo, I'm able to identify that, okay, this is the first, this is what's causing the incident in terms of giving me the templates. These are the most common patterns we are seeing around this time. So it really shows you detail into the data. So if I'm an SRE, I'm reaching out to the right dev to jump in and making sure that these things are worked on immediately and in a timely manner. But then also when it comes to volume, now it offers me, and I can easily sample, filter out, or do whatever volume reductions that I want based off a particular pattern. So here I don't have to be an expert in our telemetry. I can just profile the data, get the patterns, and then filter out, thus reducing the volume. And Mezmo also shows you more into like the different applications and hosts that are causing this. So straight off the bat, I can see Kafka is our top producing application. And this, you can talk within the team and be like, is this expected behavior? If it's not expected behavior, you can talk more, but then also you can filter out and see the templates that are coming from these particular applications, and then you can filter out or remove whatever you're not interested in. Here, level. As you can see, we have different levels, and we have information info. That's mainly the same thing, but then, so this shows you that we did some standardization within our logs. And this is something that Mezmo also helps you out with, to standardize your logs using the different processors that we have, script processors and everything. So yeah, so this is the high level of how Mezmo helps you understand what is happening within your systems before you send the data out to observability tools so that you can make better informed decisions on what you're working on. So now that we know what's happening within our systems, how can we use Mezmo so that we can optimize, one, the data, but then also be able to grab out the insights that we want from our data before we send to the different observability tools. Because as we know, with time, it has been shown that data volume keeps increasing, but this necessarily doesn't increase the value. And so how do we bridge the gap between the volume and the value? So that's where Mezmo lies, in helping you get the most value out of your data without having to pay so much in the observability tools. So the log data optimization, so mainly this looks still, we are working with data, and we are going to do some enrichment and normalization on our logs. And here we'll be using the JavaScript processor. We have that processor in Mezmo, and then also we'll do some custom parsing depending on the data that is coming in, and then we'll do some routing. So let's do that. Okay, so as I mentioned, here we are. These are the logs that are still coming from our OpenTelemetry demo source. And when it's, so here, this is a script processor, and this can be as easy as you want or as complicated as you want it to be. And it's really helping us to normalize the data in a format that we expected or could be downstream, what our downstream observability tool expects. So here the first bit, we are trying to get pipeline states. So the pipeline states are this, what you see that helps Mezmo be able to, the normal incident. It can be also anything like deploying, depending on the workflows you're working with. And then also the messages, and then we're trying to pull the application from different places. And then returning that into a message. So whatever comes in, we are packaging it in a way that our downstream tool expects. And then next, I'm like, okay, I know that if I go back to my, let's do this. Okay, so if I go back right here to our data that is coming in, so I'm interested in the front end proxy because we realize that those are the ones that have the Apache log that we are interested in custom parsing and grabbing out better fields. And if we, let me tap this real quick. And so right now what I'm trying to show, so I'm trying to tap the data as it's coming into this, the app router. So what the router is doing is just grabbing that, show me all the messages that are coming from the front end proxy application. And then I'm using the custom parser where I'm grabbing out different fields. And let's see. So we have different parsing that we grab. And so here we are using the grok pattern, and because you can use different parsers that think these are all automated, especially for, so the beginning ones, the AWS and Kubernetes logs, common logs, all these are parsers that Mezmo auto passes. So if you're sending this data in this format, Mezmo can auto pass it. But if you feel like, okay, there are some fields that Mezmo is still not grabbing, or I would like to enrich my data differently, so that's when we jump into the different patterns that we have. So currently we are using the grok parser, and you can query strings or grab out integers depending on what you want. And this is the pattern. Right now I made this like it's grabbing out many fields, but this guy, like I said, this is something that you can set to your needs. And as you can see now, I'm grabbing out, let's see. So right now, I'm putting it in the format that my downstream expects. I'm grabbing the line, and I'm grabbing out all these fields. The application, the level, and all these. And it also adds the operation state for so that when Mezmo is in responsive pipeline state, it would know if it's normal or incident mode and everything that every good thing that you're interested in. And then so this one for the router, as you can see, it has different states. So it has deploy, normal, and incident. So this is Mezmo of the responsiveness that I was talking about. So you can see an added one, which is the deploy. It can be anything. So let me say, for example, a dev is writing code and there is something they deploy within GitHub. So Mezmo, this can change the Mezmo state. It's something that you can add in GitHub Actions, changes Mezmo state into deploy so that now it includes debug level logs, because now the developer will need to see all the data without having to filter everything out. So it changes the pipeline state into deploy, and then whatever route comes after the deploy, that's what Mezmo follows. So it's everything that's done automatically without jumping in. But in this case, we're like, okay, for our logs, we only want, let's do some aggregation or let's do some sampling because we don't need full fidelity of the data. We just need a little bit from product found, because that's something that we realize we don't need. We're like, let's just aggregate that over 5 minutes and add a count. Like within 5 minutes, we receive this many product founds, then that you can send downstream as a metric versus via as a log. And then also the others were like, okay, let's just sample those. And the rate is something that is very customizable for this. And here you can always add, like, always include. And then here you can also add some responsiveness where, like, if the pipeline state is in incident or deploy, then don't sample, just always let those ones pass through. So it's like at every node, you can include responsiveness within the pipeline, really giving you more control over your data versus dumping everything just in case you ever need it. And then for this particular example, we are sending downstream into Mezmo log analysis. This can be any tool. It's not locked into Mezmo. It could be Datadog. It could be, I keep saying mentioning Datadog, but Datadog, Dynatrace, New Relic, mention any observability tool that you have. And if we jump into our live tool, so this is the Mezmo log analysis where all the data that now we are sending into downstream. And as you can see, I'm seeing the data is flowing in live. So I can expand. And then you see I have all these important fields that I auto passed out using our grok pattern. And now I can make information based off, okay, if I'm only interested in the 200s, they can show me those. I can also do different, if I'm working as a team, I can share the line URL, and then that whoever jumps into Mezmo, they'll be able to see this particular line that I'm viewing. So it really comes in handy when you're working as a team. I jumped out real quick. But then it highlights, it shows you what was happening. The search is, we always say if you can Google, you can search within Mezmo, because you can search based on whatever field that you're interested in. For example, here, it can be like, show me all that have get in them, and then they'll show you all the lines, and the time frame is the same as well. So I'll do yesterday, 11 p.m. And then Mezmo recognizes that. So for example, let's say I'm sure that the issue started yesterday at around 11 p.m. Mezmo shows you before and after, so that way you can see if the issue really started at 11 p.m. or not. So really giving you a holistic view into your data. And if we jump, okay, and if we jump right back into this, so right here where the normal and incident mode, and let me show you if I change to incident. So as you can see for the pipeline here, let's do 1 hour. So as you can see at different points in time, the ingest has been more than whatever was going out, and the going out one was internal. So whenever we are in our normal mode, like you see right here, as you can see, whatever we are sending out was way less than what we're bringing into Mezmo, and this is because of the different processors. So the sampling and then the aggregation that we are doing, that was reducing the volume and making sure that, okay, we are not sending data that we're not really interested in. downstream into our observability tool. So what this, outside of the cutting the volume, what this really helps is you're able to reduce the noise that whoever is in your observability tool is looking through. Let's say if it's an issue or they're trying to grab some metric out, they're not skimming through lots and lots of data that is not needed. So you are really reducing that noise to signal ratio and being able to get the best value out of your data. And one way how, so for example here, my pipeline is in incident mode. So Mezmo has APIs that you can call. So that's one way how you can programmatically change the points of the incident. So for example, here I want to change my pipeline. Let me do it here. If I want to change my pipeline into a deploy state, so we changed it to normal. Let me do some edits here. So the reason why I want to show you this is it's not just states of normal incident, but then you can use different states. And so as you can see now, the state has changed to deploy. And I've done this by calling the API. So this is something that you can integrate with PagerDuty, or like if you're pushing a change in GitHub, you can do this as well by calling the API. So that's log optimization. Any questions before I jump into like something else? Nothing? Okay. So the other one that I would like to talk about is trace optimization. And traces are very noisy, especially if you're getting data from OpenTelemetry. This can be a lot of data that teams are like, well, we are not getting the value out of the data. It's just a lot, it's too much, and there is no reason why we're even taking it in. So this is where Mezmo telemetry pipeline also comes in helping you out to handle the situation of volume, but then also grabbing the insights out of your telemetry data. One thing that you can do straight off the bat of handling your traces. So here we've done some sampling. And we're like, okay, so if everything is normal and everything is going as planned, just sample the data using tail-based sampling. And tail-based sampling, this is a unique offering for Mezmo, because usually tail-based sampling utilizes so many resources, so not so many tools offer that. But you can utilize Mezmo and do some sampling based off so it takes into consideration the parent span and then the trace ID and the different conditions that you set, that you're interested in, and then also give it a rate. So that way, if everything is going as planned, you're not sending all your traces. So if there is no any errors, you're not sending all your info level traces downstream into your observability tool. You're just sampling it out. Then if an incident, you can check, you can send everything. The other thing that comes in really handy, for example, we have customers that are like, we have all these traces, but all we are interested in is the response time. So if customers, let me say they are placing an order, how long do the different services take? So that's all we are interested in. We are not interested in the whole span. So within the Mezmo platform, you can convert anything to a metric. So you just grab out the response time, or you can calculate how long the span took, and then send that downstream to Grafana or whatever you're utilizing to visualize your metrics. And then, so that's also another way that Mezmo really helps you to optimize your trace data as you're sending it out into the observability tool. And same with this, it has the responsiveness attached to it. And one thing also customers talked about, especially when we're developing the responsiveness, where we'll be like, don't hold on to data, filter out everything, then only send when an issue happens. They were like, but by the time I get an alert that an issue happened, that's already too late. You know, I need the data of what was happening before. So Mezmo has the option to add a buffer. We call it replay buffer. So it gives you a window between 8 to 4 hours. Usually you don't need that much data. You just need at least 4 hours before the incident happened. Then Mezmo rehydrates that into the pipeline, and then you can send it downstream into the observability tool. So it offers that insurance to you so that you don't have to always be worried and holding on to data that you don't need, just in case you ever need it, really and truly. So yeah, so that's Mezmo's way of how to help you optimize. And then within pipeline, we have these options, like the warnings that really tell you the state of the pipeline, what is going on. And then as you can see here, there is the option to ask the AI that gives you more detail into what is really happening. So take some time to think, AI. But yeah, really, let's wait. So here it shows you that, okay, this is a problem that has already been identified by OpenTelemetry, but then it has not yet been fixed. And then it gives you ways how you can combat this while OpenTelemetry fixes their business, how you can work within Mezmo to fix this issue within the pipeline, so that when you're sending data into your observability tool, it's the data in the format you want, but then also it's not contributing noise that you're not getting value out of, and you're grabbing the insights, reducing the mean time to resolution, things like that. So that's so this AI option is available within the entire account. So you can, wherever it has this Ask AI, so you can ask about different pipeline states. You can ask how to improve your pipelines, how to optimize the data as it's flowing into your pipelines. And you can also ask about the data itself. You can ask, we are receiving these many errors from this application. Tell us what's really happening. And then they will let you know, and then they will also offer recommendations. And let's see if I can. The other one, we have some teams who are like, okay, we prefer to stay in our IDP, you know, as we are trying to, like this whole AI, yes, I can come into the UI, but then if I'm developing, then I would rather stay in there and then query logs from there. So Mezmo gives you that option. We have the Mezmo MCP. And these are all the different where you can install it, and easy instructions on how you can. So for example, let's say if you're using Casa, this is all you need in your service key, and then that's enabled, and you can query your logs or information, and you can integrate this with other tools within your tech stack. So for example, we had a customer who had an issue recently, and they had integrated Mezmo with AWS Bedrock and all the different agents that they had within their system. So they had this networking issue that they kept, I think they've had for like 6 months. So they were like, let's try, you know, Mezmo AI. So they asked Mezmo, they had the MCP integrated within their tech stack. So Mezmo analyzed the issue, and they were like, okay, these are our recommendations. Initially, the engineers were hesitant because they were like, there is no way that's connected. But they gave it a try, and yeah, the issue was resolved. So yeah, so one thing that Mezmo MCP has really helped, so it comes down to the root cause analysis. So we are really helping engineers or SREs. We're not really replacing, but then giving you that first step of information, like an information packet, so that when you're going in to resolve the issue, you're just jumping in with the right information, pulling in the right people, hence ends up reducing the time that you spend to resolve whatever issue that you're having. And any questions, anything that you would like to see more of? Nothing? I was so clear, or I bored you? Okay, so that's all that I had prepared, but just as a takeaway from this, it's mainly, the main point of Mezmo is just to give you control over your data. Because for the longest time, teams have been sending volumes and volumes of data into, I keep saying Splunk and Datadog because it's the expensive ones that our customer talk about, and they're like, yeah, we're paying so much money, but then when it comes to metrics, we don't know if we need traces, we don't know. So Mezmo is just opening that up for you so that you're not locked into, just so you can be like, okay, let's use Grafana for metrics, and then we use Datadog for, for logs, just giving you that opportunity to utilize only what you need. And then also, within Mezmo, you don't have to retain, because there is this thing that we call active telemetry. Active telemetry is data while it's in motion. Before it's at rest and you're paying for it, paying premium, pay in the observability tools. While the data is in motion, you can set up alerts. So for example, like, send me an alert if our response time is longer than this time. Without even having to retain or store that data, Mezmo will send you an alert, and then you can set up different workflows based on that alert within Mezmo. So really, Mezmo gives you that proactive option versus paying data to be retained. Because sometimes when you receive an alert from Datadog Grafana, that's already too late because the data has been sitting and it's been retained. That's when they send you the alert out to you. And yeah, so yeah, Mezmo is not a replacement to your observability tools. It's just augmenting and helping you improve your workflow within the observability tools. And yeah, that's all I had.